All right, welcome to What Are You Good At? A Think Business series. My co-host is usually Jeff Gunsberg, but filling in for today is Jamie Garvalia. Jamie, good to see you. Looking forward to talking to Craig Zucker. Craig, it's great to see you again. You've been on the show a bunch of times, and love talking with you. Craig is an attorney, a prominent attorney with Maddin Hauser, and we're going to get into everything that he does on a day-to-day basis. Craig, this series is all about helping the listener, whoever is listening to this, really tap into what are they good at. I think we're in a time right now where people are really reflecting on that and taking time to take stock in what are they good at, and then scaling that and leveraging that and really tapping into a deeper intrinsic passion of their goodness. So what are you good at?
So first of all, it's great to be here. Great to meet you, Jamie. It's our first podcast together. So pleasure. And John, thank you for having me on. I always enjoy it. I gave some thought to this as you invited me onto this podcast, and so I think I'm good at telling you what I'm good at. So here's my short list. I think I'm very good at listening. I like to listen, and listening is a really important part of what we do here in our law practice on a daily basis. And I think I'm good at remembering, although I was a little late popping my head into this podcast today, but I've known to have a good memory, and that memory has served me well because I can think back or recount on experiences. So I think I'm good at remembering details.
Yeah.
And I'm good at getting things done. I like to get things done. Just had a wedding for my son a couple weeks ago, and this morning on my way in, I dropped my clothes off at the dry cleaners. It was the clothes from the wedding, which was about a month ago now. And now the wedding is officially done. So that felt really good because I like checking things off and saying I'm done. So
yeah,
we'll start with that. How's that?
All right, good. That's good. So listening, let's talk about that. That's not always an easy thing today. People's attention spans are, and this is a fact, less than a goldfish, which is less than 7 seconds. Active listening is very difficult. People are scrolling. They, according to the book Smart Brevity, give or take, people look at their phone 344 times a day. We are sidetracked, distracted more than ever. So listening is, I think today, a differentiator. Active listening is a differentiator. And so how would you advise, you were able to, I'm making an assumption, hone in that skill before cell phones in 2008 became what they are today. There were cell phones before 2008, but after 2008, they began to really change. And so to the active cell phone user, how do you teach people how to listen today?
Well, you have to, particularly in my line of work. If you don't hear the whole story, there's no way that you can render advice. You have to listen and hear the details. You've heard me say this many times, John, in our prior podcasts. I always refer to the devil's in the details. Well, the details are the story, and you have to hear the story so that you can respond. So how do you teach them to do that? It's an acquired skill for sure in today's crazy world. I think 340 cell phone touchings a day is light. Everywhere I go, everybody, you go out to dinner these days and you look at a couple having dinner together and they should be having a conversation, right? But they're both just buried in their phone. It's crazy. And that's just the world in which we live in. And they're not listening. I don't know what they're doing.
Maybe they're texting each other.
Yeah, it could be. But it's an acquired skill, and you learn that you have to listen. If you don't listen, you're never going to get it right, period. It's just that simple.
Jamie, I'm going to let you ask the next question. I just want to make one comment. I would say that I am a very good listener and a very good active listener. It's what I do every day. I'm a business coach, and I'm actively listening to people to hear what is hidden in plain sight, and to extract something that's curated and custom for them. And I just want to kind of highlight that whether it's listening or some other type of soft skill, the people who are listening, there are ways to scale, monetize, and build a really great career out of whatever that unique thing that you're really good at. I just want to kind of point that out. Jamie, what's your question?
Yeah. So, I'm always really interested in the evolution of how people get into the professions that they're in, how they find the skills within the profession that make them super successful. And I know that's what you are. So I'm assuming that you didn't wake up when you were 10 years old and said, I want to be like a bankruptcy and, creditor, debtor, creditor. I can't get that out of my mouth. Rights attorney.
Debtor,
creditor, rights attorney. So I guess I went
and business attorney and
business attorney. So I guess I'm curious as to your story, briefly, like what was the flow of figuring out what you wanted to do that you were good at? I get the soft skills of listening, which is obviously extremely important. But maybe those kind of the hard skills of really saying like, this is what I want to put that listening to and towards. And, how did you get into this and to find what you were really good at?
So
I just want to add one thing to that. And how did you listen to the mentors and your own gut and intuition along the way to know that, your path was your path?
Yeah.
So, let me break this down. I'm going to take a shot at your question first, Jamie. I'll come back to yours, Jen, because it's part of the same answer. So my interest in law goes back to my high school days. We never know, you're a kid, you're growing up, what do you want to be? I don't know. We had no lawyers in our family, I'll tell you that. Mm-hmm. I didn't come from a long history of lawyers. And I took a class in 11th grade constitutional law. And I had one of the greatest teachers ever, one of those teachers that is a life-changing experience, and never forget them. And I guess I'm either deeply indebted to him or deeply resentful at him. I don't know. We'll see how the story ends at the end of my.
You remember his name?
I do. His name was Mr. Ludwig, and I look him up from time to time. Often wanted to go back and visit him because he had such a profound effect on my decision making. But I took his class, and that was it for me. There was no turning back. I decided that I liked studying law. I liked studying laws, and I didn't really have any other focus of what I wanted to do. I envisioned myself as a trial lawyer, this big fancy trial lawyer, winning cases after cases and case after case, and that's what I thought. I thought it was glamorous, but I stuck to that passion, followed it through undergrad, went to law school, came out, and I joined a multi-practice firm, and that firm was about a 15-person firm, and they did divorce and criminal, business law, and probate law. And I got a chance to float through all of the sections. And I quickly found out what I didn't like, and it was trial work. I didn't like the trial work. I didn't like personal injury. I didn't like certain aspects of the different practices, but I really liked the business client. There was just something about the business client that drove me. And I had an opportunity to leave that small firm and join a emerging boutique bankruptcy firm and grow that practice with a person who turned out to be a mentor in every regard, deeply profound effect on me and my professional career. And together and with my other partners, we built this just amazing firm that lasted over 32 years until we merged that firm in its entirety, joined Maddin Hauser. Our practice group came over to Maddin Hauser, and we're still here as a practice group today, although the founding partner has since retired. So there's still 4 of us here that date back now over 38 years, 39 years, or I think we're approaching. And why bankruptcy and creditors' rights in particular? There's problems to be solved, and I like problem solving. I told you I like coming up with results, and that is an aspect of law that has a creative, the ability to have creative solutions and to work through problems and to listen to people and to in most instances come up with a really good result. So
yeah, I love that. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I think that's my answer.
And I hear that same theme. We spoke last week, John, Jeff, and I, and the theme was, one is you figure out quite quickly what you don't like, which is an informer on what you do, how you do kind of find your way in your path. And then I'm hearing that you had some really good mentors. And so, that's a reminder to people that I believe people are put in your path in your life to be able to help guide and show you what you're good at and to take you to the places and the levels that you can get to. But I love that you had a teacher in high school. I mean, great teachers, they're irreplaceable in how they can inspire people. So.
No, that's so true. And he absolutely set the path. We went to a parent teacher meeting or an open house or whatever it may be in high school. And my mother was so convinced I was going to be a doctor. She would run around, my son, the doctor, my son, the doctor. And so she said, tell your counselor at this meeting in the 11th grade, tell your counselor what you want to be. And I said, I want to be a lawyer. And she said, see, a doctor. She didn't even hear it. So there you have it. But she accepted it. She accepted the reality.
When I was in kindergarten, I took a test and it said, what do you want to be? It took a test in kindergarten. And I said, I want to be a doctor or a lawyer. My dad was a dentist. And the results came back in kindergarten that said, based on how I took the test in kindergarten, said that I was only qualified to be a dock loader. Which I didn't even know at the time what it was. So just as I remember that as you're talking. So as a side note, never let a test put you in a corner of what you can or can't do. I want to talk to you about kind of finding your path a little bit, because I think right now, in the way that the world and the market is, it seems like people out of college or in transition are having a hard time finding their path. This past year is an interesting year. Law applications to go to law school were up almost 23%, close to 500,000 applications. Many have cited economic and job market concerns, the climate, et cetera, on why there were so many more applications. People just, not ready to go into the real world and want to kind of stay in school a little bit. I'm not judging any of that if that's the case, but I'm curious what you think the future of that means. Like, what do those numbers, if we were to forecast those out, what does that mean to the legal world?
So there's always a place for good lawyers. I'm going to tell you that. And I'm one of the lawyers and mentors out there that would never, ever discourage anybody from going to law school. I hear so many people say, oh, you don't want to do that. You don't want to be a lawyer. It's a really tough profession. Why would you want to do that? I'm not one of those. I believe that, first of all, legal education has so many applications. You can be a practicing lawyer and go into the trenches and practice in some area that you may like. You can use that education in the business world. You can use that education in so many day-to-day settings. The legal training is never something lost. So whether you want to be a practicing lawyer or you want the education, the training, the thinking possibilities and capabilities that a law degree gives you, I'd encourage anybody to pursue that because I think it's invaluable. What does it do for the profession? I think you're asking me.
Yeah.
I think it's great. I think it's great because law firms are getting bigger, not smaller. Legal needs are getting more complex, we're a global economy now. The marketplace is changing, and I think there's a need. We're a growing firm. We're always looking for good talent. If we have a bigger talent pool to choose from, so be it. Bring it on is what I would say. So I encourage it, and I think it is encouraging that the applications are up and they want to study law, or even if it's a placeholder, education never hurt anybody. So.
Yeah.
So go park yourself in law school for 3 years and then figure it out. That degree is never going to be worthless. Ever.
Yeah, I agree with that. What do they in line with what are you good at? What do they need to work on that they need to be good at that they're not taught at law school? when they get out of law school?
Oh boy, that's a loaded question. Communications, really important. And we'll go back to your cell phone, your 340 touches a day on a cell phone example. You got to communicate with people. The practice of law involves communications, and they don't teach you that in law school. And not a text, not an email, but either a pick up the phone, a FaceTime would work, or face-to-face, one-on-one, good old-fashioned communications so that you can see it, feel it, and touch it. And what I mean by that is so much is gained by a physical meeting where you can see expressions, hear the tone, maybe anticipate and go into areas of the conversation that would never come out in a text or possibly be lost in a text or in an email. I don't know about you two, but somebody can get an email and I have to read it 5 times because I don't really know what it's saying.
Yeah.
What do they mean by that? And yet in a conversation, communications, you can cut out a lot of that nonsense and get right down to really what's at issue. So communications, patience. As I've mentioned, John and Jamie, I'm a mentor. I mentor our younger lawyers here, and I always tell them, it is not a sprint; it's a marathon. And just like a doctor who comes out of medical school and does a residency for 4 years, 5 years, whatever the specialty may be, we do the same. You get out of law school, and now you got to learn the trade. And you got to learn how to apply what you learned in law school to the everyday situations, and it takes time. So patience. They don't teach you patience in law school either. So
and patience is hard today for many people. I read an article. I want to say it was in the Atlantic. I can't remember off the top of my head. In 2008, and now we're sitting here. It's 2025, but it talked about how the internet is making us stupid, and what it meant, and what it talked about was that the technology was rewiring our brains from being delayed gratification to instant gratification. And so that was in 2008. And as you look at technology, you can see it, I think, in a little bit of all of us, how, we want instant gratification. And, that art of what you're talking about, patience, is the kind of the way back home. That delayed gratification is really important, and doing those things, and patience is key. Jamie?
Yeah, I'm curious about you said that you mentor young lawyers, and I think that's so important. And when people are coming, and I always think about kind of a younger generation. I know John's son is right now in the process of, interviewing and getting out of college and figuring his first job. But I would love to hear what you think is important about going into a company that has a mentorship type of program, and what people should be looking for in order to help them really become good at something. Like what are the qualities that you use to mentor and teach your mentees in order to make sure that they have what you need in Maddin Hauser, that they can represent not only themselves, but the firm in a way in which you feel, proud, and they're able to come up in the way that you guys, hope that they do?
Well, that's just a great question. And let me break it down too again. So COVID and the remote work world really changed the way that people do things, and particularly in the practice of law. And in my view, this is my own personal view, and I share this as a mentor, the remote work and not being involved with practicing attorneys and collaborating is just not the way to get it done these days. Mentoring involves collaboration, and collaboration involves, again, interpersonal communications and sharing. And what am I looking for? I look for a young lawyer that's got an open, fresh mind, that's open to the collaboration, to sharing the thoughts and the process, to putting together a plan from start to finish, a roadmap, if you will, how you're going to tackle a case or a problem, how you're going to identify the problem, how you communicate it to the client, all those things. And that's not done in emails or in texts or on a remote work setting. It's done face to face, where you can actually get out the old pen and paper, maybe diagram it, put it in front of the person. That's good old fashioned mentoring. And another little colloquial saying I share with Jon over and over again is, where does good judgment come from? A lot of it comes from bad judgment.
Yeah.
We all make mistakes along the way. So we take those bad mistakes and we learn from them. But how do you learn from them? You've got to communicate them. You've got to share them. You've got to understand the importance of that failed judgment and then endeavor never to do it again. Mm-hmm. And that goes to collaboration. So little pieces of the puzzle that make mentoring work is face-to-face, open mind, communications, learning from our mistakes, and being able to share. It's just so important. And so we look for people that are receptive to that and that have the ability to work in that type of environment and have a collaborative work effort. Someone that really just wants to stay at home, shut the door, and be by themselves, I would say we're not for them. We're people place.
Well, that's something that I seem to see over and over with companies right now. The theme is getting back to the basics. Like even in Jeff's company, we're working with his team to pick up the phone, have a conversation. Don't just spit out a quick email that the tone can be read wrong, that you're really not diving into the problem and just kind of pushing it off, and being able to really have those kind of old school soft skills that are everything that I do fear that this generation coming up is missing, and that we are going to have to work harder and harder to help teach them and guide them in, just because of the way in which the world is, and the way in which they're kind of communicating with each other. So kind of that similar theme, the listening, the communicating, the picking up the phone, the having a conversation in person, like those things are really what make you good at being a people person in general, and being able to do business back and forth. Yeah.
There's to layer on top of what you're talking about, listening, active listening. There's reflective listening too, which is actively listening and then asking the right next question. And I think that's a skill set, because, like you go into department stores or whatever, and you ask somebody something who works there, and they look at you like you upset them. And then there's no follow-up question. It's like there's a lot of like dead conversations, I think, when that happen today. And I see that becoming lost, and we got to figure out a way to replug it in, but that's a whole nother show. We talked about active listening today. Reflective listening is another show, and asking great questions. We'll end with a quick speed round. Craig, what one skill set would you tell your 16-year-old self to study more?
Boy, I think we've talked over and over about this skill set, but it is listening. It's not waiting to talk. It's listening, and I just think that's going to take you a long way.
Yeah.
It is, and it's lost. It's almost like a lost art these days. Everybody's rushing and speeding to do things and wants that instant gratification, and so. I guess it's also tied to patience. So listening and patience.
Good. Tell everybody who your ideal clients are, who you serve, et cetera, and how to connect with you.
So my ideal client is the business client. So a mom and pop. I happen to love the mom and pop business person, because there's just so much homegrown attributes of a mom and pop business organization. Growing emerging businesses, people that need our skill set to keep the company on track, a good employment policy, good culture, building an internal culture in which to run the organization, buying and selling assets, all of those things that go into the business world. So I love the business client, and the business client to me is the perfect client. Because they have real needs, and I believe we have real solutions. So we're a good fit. I'm at Maddin Hauser. I want to say our count today is 52 lawyers high. We're an interdepartmental practice model, meaning we have employment and litigation, and we have probate, and we have real estate, and we do debtor-creditor rights work. We're a full-service business firm, and so As they say, as the father and son commercial went, no job too small, no job too big, or no job too big, no job too small. We do it all. However that goes.
We're father and son. We do it all.
We do it all. We like to say we do. There's things we don't do, but for the business client, I think we do it all. So Maddin Hauser here in our brand new offices in Southfield, Michigan, One Town Square. We're on the 5th floor and open for business on the internet 24/7 by an email, or I can be reached at my own email, czucker@maddinhauser.com. Very easy.
That's great. Well, Craig, I love talking to you. Maddin Hauser, we're in Detroit. And so, Steve Salen, I've known for a long time. And just everybody in your firm is just top notch, and you are as top notch as they come. So yeah, it's great. I just want to end with a couple thoughts. Think community. I grew up and, knowing that or at least my family saying, when you grow up, you need an attorney and an accountant. So much so that when I took accounting in school, I hated it so much. I thought, why am I taking this class? I'm going to have an accountant. And so, and when I was in commercial real estate, one thing that everybody always said, and we always said as brokers, is never play attorney. And I think it's so important to think community. An attorney, in my opinion, is an investment, never an expense. So don't make a mistake early on because you're trying to save money of something that can get you in a lot of trouble later. You gotta have somebody who's trained that can look at every, dotted I and crossed T and make sure that you are always protected in everything that you do. So I just have the utmost respect for you, Craig, and what you do and your shop. Jamie, any closing thoughts?
No, it was a pleasure meeting you, Craig, and thank you for letting me co-host today on a whim. So I appreciate it. It's a pleasure.
Yes. Good to be here.
Pleasure to meet you, and I look forward to doing it again. John, always thank you. It's always great to be with you.
Always great. And I just want to throw this out there. Craig shared a lot of stuff today, and we talked about a lot of stuff about tapping into what are you good at. So think about what you're good at and where you maybe want to grow 0.01% to get even a little bit better. Craig, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Jamie, great co-hosting with you as always. We missed Jeff, but he'll be back next week. Thanks, everybody.